Hi everyone! Welcome to another lesson for today. We are going to talk about the mathematics of buying and selling. So what is this topic all about? So first, let's define what our learning outcomes are. So what do we need to accomplish by the end of the lesson? So first, we need to define what a markup and a markdown is. We should be able to compute for the markup and the markdown. We should be able to differentiate what a markup is from a gross margin. And lastly, we need to be able to explain how gross margin is used in the sales. So let's start our lesson. For example, you have encountered this kind of problem. So if you bought a lot worth 800,000 pesos and you want to sell it at 200,000 pesos higher than the original price, therefore you will sell the lot at 1 million pesos. So if you read the question carefully, madali lang siya sagutan. So you just need to add the 800,000 pesos and the 200,000 pesos to get the 1 billion. But then, ano bang meron dun sa 800,000 and sa 200,000? So here you can see that the 800,000 pesos is the original price of your lot. So ito yung presyo niya nung binili mo siya. And then your 200,000 pesos, ito daw yung idadagdag mo kapag binenta mo na siya. So this is what we call the markup. So now that we know what the original price and the markup is, let's try to define. So what is a markup? So it is the amount that is added to the original cost of the item. So for example, you have a pencil right now and it costs 10 pesos and you want to sell it tomorrow and you would want to add 2 pesos. So your markup is 2 pesos. Kung magkaano ang dinagdag mo, yun ang tinatawag na markup. Next one is our markup rate. So it is the ratio of the markup to the original price in percentage. So ibig sabihin lang nito, yung markup mo, magkano yung dinagdag mo, over dun sa original price, times 100% is equal to the markup rate. So later on, makikita nyo yung itsura ng formula natin. Pero yun yung idea niya. So before, we already talked about ratios. So I think it would be easier for you to visualize now what a markup rate is. So let's go back to our first example. So this example, so now we have the formula of the markup rate, where R is equal to M sub U over M sub O times 100%, where R is equal to the markup rate, M sub U is equal to the markup, and M sub O is the original price. So madali naman siya tandaan kasi pag MU, so markup. So M sub O, original. So pare silang may O, tsaka pares may U. So now let's try to solve the problem. So let's find the value of M sub U and M sub O. So the value of M sub U will be equal to, okay, so it would be 200,000. So bakit naging 200,000 yung markup? Kasi ito yung dinagdag natin dun sa presyo. And then your M sub O is your original price. Magkano yung presyo talaga nung umpisa pa lang? So that would be 800,000. So you have 200,000 over 800,000 times 100%. That would give us 0.25 times 100%. And our final answer would be R is equal to 25%. So, ibig sabihin, ang markup rate mo ay 25% daw. Nagtaas ka ng 25% doon sa nauna mong binigay na presyo. So, from 800,000, naging 1 million, 25% ang tinaas. So, let's have more examples. But first, let's define what is a selling price. So, it is the sum when you add the markup and the original price. Dun sa question natin earlier, pwede natin siyang balikan para mas makita nyo kung ano yung selling price. Pero from the word itself, selling price. So, ito yung presyo kung magkano mo binibenta yung gamit or yung kung ano man yung gusto mong ibenta. As given with our previous example, the original price of the lot is 800,000 pesos. Our markup is equal to 200,000 pesos. So to find the selling price, we have the formula S is equal to M sub U plus M sub O. So we have S is equal to 200,000 plus 800,000. So this would give us the answer 1 million pesos. So nakikita nyo naman dun sa question, nakalagay na siya. Therefore, you will sell the lot at 1 million pesos. So yun yung formula kung paano nakuha yung 1 million. Let's have another example. So in 2012, Bart bought a residential lot for 350,000 pesos. He sells the property at its market value price, which is 600,000 pesos. How much is the markup? And what is the markup rate? So first, let's try to remember our formula and what are M sub U, M sub O, and S means. Then, we have 350,000 as our original price. So, ito yung presyo nung binili niya yung lupa niya. And then, we have 600,000. So, this 600,000 is our selling price. So, paano siya naging selling price? Kasi nakasulat dito, he sells the property at its present market value. So, ganun daw niya ibibenta yung nabili niyang lote. So now let's determine what is the markup and the markup rate. To find the markup, we have the formula S minus M sub O. So saan nanggaling yung S minus M sub O? So di ba kanina we were able to say that S is equal to M sub U plus M sub O. So, pinaglaruan lang natin yung formula dahil nga si M sub U yung nawawala ngayon, we can just transpose M sub O sa left side para magkasama na sila ni S. So, you have S minus M sub O is equal to M sub U. So, kapag hindi alam ang formula, you can just manipulate the given formulas, yung mga initial na meron ka. Kasi doon lang naman iikot yan. So you have now 600,000 minus 350,000. So your answer would be 250,000. So ito daw yung markup mo. Ito yung idinagdag dun sa presyo, sa original price, para maging 600,000. Ngayong meron ka ng markup, it's now time to compute our markup rate. So you have your formula, R is equal to M sub U over M sub O times 100%. So you have R is equal to 250,000 over M sub O times 100%. Kasi M sub U yung nasa taas. And then your M sub O is 350,000. So simplify, you would get 0.7143. So yan, medyo marami pa rin siyang kasunod, pero in my case, I put the final answer in 4 decimal points. So you have times 100% so that kapag minultiply siya ng percent, magiging 2 decimal points na lang. So our answer would be 71.43%. So the markup rate is 71.43%. So now, paano naman kung iniba lang yung ibang parts ng question? So in 2012, Bart bought a residential lot for 350,000 pesos. So it's the same, katulad kanina. Pero this time, ang given sa inyo is the markup rate, which is 71.43%. How much will be the present or the selling price? And how much is the markup? So, ganun pa din. So, from our previous formula, this one, you could just manipulate it. So, we have here S is equal to M sub O times 1 plus R. So, yung selling price natin, sa ganyang formula daw natin malalaman. So, you have 350,000 times 1 plus 0.7143. And then you have 350,000 times 1.7143. And it gave us 600,005. So, Miss, bakit po iba yung sagot kanina, sagot ngayon? So, katulad ng sinabi ko, dun sa previous problem, nag-round off lang tayo. So, medyo marami pa yung decimal points na meron, pero kinot natin siya into 4 decimal points. Kaya meron tayong konting sobra, or pwede rin minsan konting kulang dun sa magiging sagot. So, nakadepende naman yan dun sa problem na ibibigay sa inyo. Pero kung yung katulad ng unang question, na saktong 25% talaga ang lumabas, ibig sabihin magiging same yung answer nyo. So, nag-iiba lang ang selling price kapag yung formula nyo nagbigay sa inyo ng more than 4 decimal points. Or yung iba, yung mga mahahaba pa na decimals. So, ayun. Take that into consideration. So now that we have our R, M sub O, and S, let's find M sub U. So your M sub U is equal to S minus M sub O. So that's 600,005 minus 350,000. So your answer will now be 250,005 pesos. So ganyan lang. Kapag nabago yung selling price, mababago din yung markup. So, tingnan nyo munang mabuti yung problem, hindi yung basta-basta kayo gumagaya ng sagot dun sa previous na example. Paano naman kung ang nawawala ay yung markup at original price? So, same thing, what you're going to do is just to manipulate the formula. So, we have here M sub O is equal to S over 1 plus R. So, just substitute the value of S and R. So you would get 600,005 over 1 plus 0.714, and it would give you the original price of 350,000. Now let's go to our next topic. Let's define what is a markdown. So it is the amount deducted to the original price. So kung kanina nag-a-add tayo, habang tumatagal kasi nagmamahal yung isang bagay, ngayon naman is nagmumura. So kapag nagmura, kunyari pumunta ka sa isang mall, and then you would see sale. Diba meron tayong mga 3-day sale? Kapag nagpupunta sa mall tayo, yung mga 50% off, 30% off. So ayun, nagba-markdown siya. We also have here the markdown rate. So it is the ratio of the markdown to the original price. So ito yung mga percentage na bumaba. For example, galing ka sa mall, nakita mo mayroong 50% off. So yun yung tinatawag na markdown rate. Ilang percent siya bumaba. Now let's have an example. You bought a laptop for 22,000 pesos. After a few months, you decided to sell it and give it a discount worth 8,800 pesos. How much is your selling price? What is your markdown rate? So the formula is R is equal to M sub D over M sub O times 100%. So ito na nga formula, same lang halos sila nung markup rate. Kaso, ang pinagkaiba lang is, dito nga, markdown na siya. So, ang idea lang naman ng markdown, bumili ka ng isang bagay, tapos ibibenta mo siya. So, di ba second hand na kapag ganun? So, instead na tumaas yung presyo, bumababa na yung value niya kasi nagamit mo na. So, ayun lang. So, where R is equal to your markdown rate, M sub D is your markdown, M sub O is your original price, and the S is your selling price. So, given na meron kang original price na 22,000, so that's your M sub O, and your markdown, which is 8,800, to find the S, you just need to subtract M sub O minus M sub D. So, you have 22,000 minus 8,800. So your value of S is equal to 13,200. So next one, let's find the markdown rate. So your M sub D is equal to 8,800 over your original price, which is 22,000. So times 100, that would give us 0.4 times 100%, which is also equal to 40%. So, ibig sabihin, yung presyo daw ng laptop bumaba ng 40%. So, malaking bagay na siya kasi almost half na. So, for example, you would go to a mall and you would buy something, you should think of how much is the markup or the markdown and what is the rate or what is the percentage. So take note that just like our previous examples, we also have alternative formulas for our markdown. So paano kapag iba yung nawawala dun sa question? Ganon din naman, magmamanipulate lang kayo. So when S is missing, you can use the formula M sub O times 1 minus R. So that would give you 22,000 times 1 minus 0.4. So that is 22,000 times 0.6, which is equal to 13,200. So kahit ano yung nawawala, meron siyang alternative na formula. Now let's go to the last part of our lesson. What is a gross margin? It is the same as the markup, and it is another way to look at the selling price and the original price. So yung idea niya, same lang sa markup. So tumataas din siya. Pero dito natin makikita yung difference kapag original price na ang pinag-uusapan at yung selling price. So let's go to our examples para mas maintindihan. So here, let's define first what a gross margin rate is. So it is the ratio of the gross margin to the selling price. So given this question, in 2012, Bart bought a residential lot for 350,000 pesos. The markup rate is 71.43%. How much will be the present or selling price and how much would be the markup? So, kinompute na natin siya kanina at nakuha natin yung 71.43%, 250,005, 350,000, at 600,005. So, now let's compare it kung ano yung gross. So for us to find the gross margin rate, our formula would now be R is equal to M sub G over S times 100%. So yung R natin dito ang nawawala. Kasi markup rate yung given sa atin, hindi yung gross margin rate. But your M sub G and M sub U are equal. Your M sub O are also equal. And your S are also equal. So, ang nagkakaiba lang sa dalawang to ay yung rate nila. So, take note ha, yung M sub U at M sub G ay equal. So, let's perform the formula. So, you have R is equal to 250,000 5 over 600,000 times 100%. Kasi M sub G over S. So, palitan nyo lang sila. So, that would give us 0.44167 times 100%. So, ito, ni-round off ko lang din. And your final answer would give you 41.67%. So, kung titingnan nyo, magkaiba na yung R nila. Yung sa R nung markup rate, 71.43, pero nung gross margin rate na siya, 41.67. So, huwag kayong malilito, basta basahin nyo lang maigi yung question kung ano yung hinahanap. Let's have our examples. So, you have M sub O is equal to 150, M sub U is equal to 105. What is S and what is R? So, I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. So, your S would be 255 kasi i-add lang yung 150 at 105. So, for the formula of R, you have M sub U over M sub O times 100%. So, R is equal to 70%. Next, you have your M sub O is 260, M sub D is equal to 78. Find S and R. S is equal to 182 kasi sinubtract lang natin dahil markdown tayo M sub D. So your formula for markdown, the rate is M sub D over M sub O times 100%. Find R. So R is 30%. Next, you have your M sub O is 300, M sub G is 57, find S and R. Okay, so S is 357 kasi same idea lang yung M sub U at M sub G, i-add lang. Now find R using the formula. So your R is equal to 15.97%. So I would always prefer 2 decimal points for the final answer. What if you are going to encounter a word problem? So we have here a bookstore decides to sell a book at a price that is 30% higher than its original cost of 125 pesos. How much is the markup? So usually naman given na sa inyo kung ano yung hinahanap. So either it's markup, markdown, or the gross margin. So you just have to read the questions carefully. So we have here the rate which is 30%. So bakit naging rate ang 30%? Kasi yun yung percentage na idadagdag mo. Dapat daw 30% higher. You have your original price which is 125. So you need to find M sub U and S. So in our question, hindi naman hinahanap kung ano si S. So hindi naman naka-indicate na what is the selling price. So it depends sa'yo if you want to find it or just find M sub U. So look at the formulas if you have a formula that would direct you to M sub U without looking for S. So your M sub U would be 37.5. So how did that happen? So you just multiplied 125 by 30%. So that would give you 37.5. One more question that you could do on your own. A laptop has an original price of 22,500 pesos. If it is marked down to 17,550, what is the markdown rate? Try to answer it on your own. Take note of your answers. So this is our answers. So that would be all for today, and I hope that you learned something new. I will see you again next time. Thank you very much.